Coach Rye, man, thanks for joining me. I'm excited to chat and dive in here.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm sure you caught the name of the title. Your snack habits keep you fat and hungry.
I did.
Do
It
you remember
reminded
what?
me, I was like, I think I've done a post or two about that.
You don't remember that being the post? I mean, that's one of the ones that kind of like, in terms of social media and stuff, accelerated your visibility. Do you remember
Yeah.
that
Oh,
period of
yeah.
time? It was a few years ago now, but how did you
Yep.
come up with those ideas? What did you think about what to say? Like, where did that come from?
A lot of them were from you, man. I was working with you one-on-one at the time, and you were a wizard at helping me lean into the things that were just getting clicks and views and likes and shares. But yeah, I mean, most of my content stems from what are my clients struggling with? And a lot of times it's, as much as I do love nerding out on the psychology and behavior and philosophical side, a lot of times it's the practical stuff. Like,
Mhm.
what are you eating? Do you have a sort of routine and rituals around getting high volume, filling, satisfying snacks and meals such that you're not fighting your biology at all hours of the day?
No kidding. Well, it sounds like, I mean, in terms of the practical advice you ultimately give them, it's like strong, rooted in evidence, very practical and applied, but also like some of that stuff you had a knack for like hooking people into why they should listen around that type of stuff. And I think um, that was just you finding your voice in it all. And I think it really paid off for you.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
a lot of it stemmed from my own experience too, having gone from someone who thought you just had to grind harder and be more disciplined and strengthen your willpower. Some of the meals that I used to eat were
Like what?
just, well, just lacking any sort of basic cooking and preparation skills. So choking down bland meals, not knowing how to use spices, like things that I just
Oh man.
loathed. And then you wonder why that would lead to binge episodes where you're just depriving yourself for the entirety of the week and then fantasizing about your Friday or Saturday night gorge sessions,
No
wiping out
kidding.
all of your progress.
No kidding. It sounds like I mean a lot of your coaching and your approach and like stems from your experience, right? Like in terms of the
Yeah,
stuff you went through. I can imagine that's pretty fulfilling, helping people avoid some of those pitfalls.
it is for sure. And I think a lot of it comes from, like you said, when you find your voice, you, by way of coaching and helping people one-on-one, you also, or group based,
Yeah.
you also just start to learn who your message and voice tends to resonate with. A lot of times that can come from your own experience because it resonates way more. So I remember an old coach of mine said, your mess becomes your message. So a lot of times you struggle with the things yourself, find ways to overcome those, and then notice that, oh shit, I wasn't the only person
Hmm.
who dealt with that.
Yeah.
And that can really help
Let
hone
me.
in on your niche, so to speak.
Yeah. No, man, that's really powerful. I was. Let me ask you this, because I think at times being vulnerable about that stuff in terms of where we're coming from is really, really powerful. But how do you do that? Still coming off as like the expert and the one figured out, as well as it's not being like your mess is your message. How do you not portray it in a way that it's still your mess?
Oh, being just open, I suspect.
Yeah.
I think that was a big thing for me. And I'm sure any new coach watching this, maybe your former self as well, can relate to this in the sense that you feel like it's hard. At least it was for me. I'm projecting a lot on my biases here, but it was hard for me to not feel the need to have all the answers.
Yeah.
And paradoxically, when I was able to be vulnerable and really open about my past challenges as well as my current challenges,
Mhm.
it just humanizes you. So people are like, oh, because man, it's how easy is it in this age of social media to present only what is going so well, such that it like creates this divide. So someone who struggles with binging or just can never quite achieve the body composition and health that they want, they may, if you as the coach present too much of what's going well and how you're just killing it, you're creating this divide such that the people go, yeah, well, fuck, this guy's like an influencer or coach and he's got everything figured out. Like, I can't really relate to him that much because he's probably working out for 2 hours a day and spending a bunch of time preparing meals. Where the truth is, that's not the case. We're all human too. We have our slip ups, we have our vices, we have our challenges that will be infinite. Like, as a human, it's just the human experience. We'll never be perfect in terms of how we operate. So I think the more that you can just be like, here's me,
Totally,
this is what I struggle with, and here's what I do, and even other slightly outside of the intention of this live stream is some of those other videos that popped off where I'm like, hey, sometimes when I'm in a pinch, like I'll grab a couple egg McMuffins and here's how you can make them, here's how you can make a McDonald's order reasonably high protein, filling, minimize calories, etc. People are like, oh, that's cool. This coach is not just talking about, drinking distilled water from a spring and eating organic and
no kidding, no kidding.
All that nonsense.
I remember that that first of all, that message is super practical and people like gravitate towards. I think the right eyes are like, oh man, this is exactly what I need. It also can be polarizing at times where people are like the distilled water people or the people that like, I don't know, just have a chip on their shoulder for some reason and are portraying that they have it all figured out. It really is unsettling for them, which actually helps you go even further.
Totally, man. I mean, you might recall, given that we were working together at the time, but yeah, some of the ones that went most viral of my videos, I got a lot of hate for that. And just, saying like, oh, the nutrition coach who's advocating for eating this garbage and seed oils and whatnot. It's like, how dare you? Mm-hmm. And that was a funny experience for me.
Did you find it funny at the time? I know a lot of people like that might be their worst nightmare. Yeah, but do you find like, was that an indicator for you? Like, okay, well, I'm stirring the pot a little, but this is a good thing. I'm going to lean into it, or was there kind of some like hesitation around that?
It's a good question. There's my answer is nuanced. In general, I had fun with it because I believed in it.
Right.
I was like, look, not only have I helped myself break free of all or nothing dogmatism by being like, you have to eat only clean. And once you have that first bite of Egg McMuffin, you have just ruined your diet for the day.
The whole world stops, right?
The whole world stops. You might as well keep going, just gorge for the rest of the day and get back on track tomorrow or on Monday. Breaking free of that all or nothing thinking was massive for myself. And then I also saw the evidence right in front of me observationally with clients who were able to recognize that going 2,000 calories over their calorie target is very different from exceeding it by 500 because they got stuck in a pinch.
Exactly.
It's like, well, that's cool. Just get back on track and with the next meal, not tomorrow, or compound the error that you made, and let's reflect on it and try and figure out how we might want to handle it a little bit differently next time. So it was great in the sense, and I had fun with it because I believed in it. There were some, to be fully transparent, situations where I did get wrapped up in a little bit of too much of the, oh, well, this is what's going viral. Because I had a couple that, got like a couple 100,000 views or whatever. And my growth on Instagram was going pretty well.
Yeah.
And I think that's a bit of a mistake too, to lean too far into that. And it was a little bit, with some of my old videos, one could scroll down and see that I've changed my voice a lot now, and my growth has stalled out because I don't try and be as polarizing anymore,
Yeah,
which I'm cool with. I don't need
totally.
100,000 followers. I'm just kind of like more leaning into what truly lights me up, whether that's more the philosophical mindset psychology piece
Yeah.
versus like pissing off people because I know that it's going to get likes and views.
Yeah, I mean, that's super smart realization. I think the biggest thing is that what I like too is that like we haven't deleted that old stuff. It's like it's still you still have conviction around it. It's just like we can evolve and grow and present different things, and it's just like there's a different time and a place.
Totally. It's funny looking back at some of those ones that I was posting when you and I were working together, because they were all, I was a character. I was playing a character,
Mm-hmm.
and that did get a bit exhausting for me. But hey, man, it worked. I set a goal. I wanted to get north of 10,000 followers because I thought it was going to be, this instant sort of credibility thing. And again, in hindsight, I don't think that's the case. There's people who crush it in coaching who have just like 1,000 highly engaged followers, and they have a
Totally.
really good service. And so there's a lot of those elements that I reflect on and think, well, I was putting more time and effort and energy into creating these videos that were potentially going to pop versus being like, how can I make my service to my clients epic and, guarantee that anybody who engages to a high and consistent degree is going to get amazing results.
What are some of the ways you changed your service or what you put into it? Like, what were some of the things that or what are you currently doing now?
Yeah, it's a good
Or was
question.
it just like the intent of it?
Man, I think about this so much, dude, and I still don't
I know
have
you do.
like a perfect answer. But I think so. For one, it is, and we hear this all the time as coaches, find your niche. So it comes back to what we said earlier, right? Just from having, that being a few years ago now, and then having years of, practicing as a coach, working with hundreds of different people, you just eventually sort of realize there's patterns.
Mm-hmm.
This is who I tend to help the most. This is who tends to kind of exhaust me. And I sort of go, I don't really know why this isn't resonating. Why is this particular client spinning their wheels? That's never going to go away. You never as a coach will know wholeheartedly with someone who signs on to your program, this person is going to get the best results. You can start to see that after a few weeks where you're like, ooh, I can see this person's like this old client and we're vibing. And so I don't know if I have a clear answer to your question as far as what tactically, but I can say this, having gone through that process, getting more clear on who I help the most, and then creating better filtration process of like, I don't think I'm the right coach for you, and starting to be diligent with that instead of thinking I need more clients, and just be like, no, I can see the pattern here based on what they're saying on the discovery call or in the early stages. Even it's like, I don't know if this is going to be the best fit. You may be giving up on an opportunity for a new client and some income, but it's hard to quantify what you are sparing yourself and your client from just a mental exhaustion, burnout standpoint, right? And so that was huge for me. And so I think a lot of it comes down to filtering out or filtering in the right people, and then getting more clear with your messaging such that the people that sign up, they're like, there's a higher probability. Yes.
Yeah. They just know it instantly.
Yep.
Like, oh, this is the right fit.
Totally.
That's super cool. Do you find that it sounds like what I'm hearing is that like through that process of coaching, getting more experience, just much more like you're trying to be aware of like who these people are, what are their attributes, what are some things that light me up, and then just trying to double down on that on every step of the process, be it like your content, but also like conversations, the sales process, all of those type of things.
Yes, resources, right? Like the more that you filter in a similar type of person, the better that you can have a certain amount of resources and challenges, common occurring challenges within that demographic, that you're like, okay, so let's say I work with clients who travel a lot. They're busy executives and they are bouncing around from client meeting to client meeting. That looks very different from a how can I help this person standpoint versus the, stay-at-home mom with 3 kids. Very different. Or the person who struggles with emotional eating or whatever, right? It's like, that's where instead of trying, and I think that's probably where I would say a lot of coaching programs, programs like yours that train coaches to be people to become coaches, can make the error of being too general. So like, I know when I think back on all the certifications that I did and all the education and reading that I've done and continue to do, if I'm trying to help everyone, it's just a mess in my brain.
Without a doubt.
I'm not going to be the expert with someone who's like battling something really specific that another coach has honed in on because they had PCOS, or they're a type 2 diabetic, or are a type 1 diabetic, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Those more specific, nuanced things, even though you and I both know most of us just need to do the basics better, more.
Yeah, totally. Without a doubt.
But like, there can be that conviction in terms of like, yeah, I've been there. I've got 3 kids. I was the stay-at-home mom. And that just creates more buy-in from the coach, which creates more buy-in and belief from the client.
Yeah, just like certainty, right? Like, it's one of those things where it's like everyone's knows what they're doing it for, and it's just super clear, and there's not much confusion around like what needs to happen and why they're there. Yeah, I think that just helps you build that belief in what you're doing.
Totally.
Yeah. With that being said, you gave a bunch of examples. I can imagine, where do you find yourself niche wise right now? And what are some of the challenges you're helping your clients overcome?
So most of my clients, I've still got a few female clients, but I've definitely honed more in on men.
Yeah.
Like high performing men who already work out, and they've tried a bunch of different free programs. They may even have hired personal trainers.
Yep.
They may have even worked with nutritionists. And so right there, like, with that example, it's like, again, as much as I do enjoy the mindset side, the psychology side, and have worked with people who are just coming right off the couch.
Yep.
It's a different game when you're trying to get someone to like manifest the drive, the motivation to just get into the gym for the first time in years.
Yeah.
Versus someone who's already working out. So for me, with my message now and my niche, it's like, you're already working out.
Yeah. Well, it comes clear already, right? I think both of us as Canadians at times, like, we don't experience this as much as some of the Americans, and definitely the southern states. But I always use the example of like some of the big law firms and their advertisements that you see on the highway. It's like they make it so clear who this is for. Like, if you were a loved one, in an auto accident between this and this, and now you're experiencing this, it's like, wow, like people are like, like they're like, that's me. So when you say, if you're already working out, but you're struggling with this, if you've already done this diet or this thing, or worked with a personal trainer and it just didn't give you what you need, it's like people, they get like it's like a light bulb moment for them. It's like they hear bells ringing because they know it's for them.
And I mean, that's something I remember you drilling that, and it's think of like funny examples with that. It's like, do you have a dog named Fluffy?
Yeah.
Things like that, where you get so specific, and you're not pushing. It doesn't mean that you can't work with those other people. when they show up, because sometimes even if your niche that you market yourself towards in your messaging is not, it doesn't resonate with a certain person, people still reach out because you have that conviction. But yeah, it's just such an easier process, and it's more of that, maybe we can reduce it to sort of like an abundance and scarcity type dichotomy, which I don't love doing because it's black or white, but it's just like, are you coming at this from knowing that your niche, can afford your services? You know how to help them because you've helped someone in their position do what they want to do before.
Yeah.
And, with that, it's like, you just lean into it. And that can be hard I think, again, from based on how many coaches within education, within certifications and so forth, can be almost indoctrinated into thinking you got to know everything and be able to navigate all these different cases. And
Oh, totally.
you know what I mean? It's like, well, it's not really the case, because most
Not
people
at all.
they need to sleep a little bit better. They need to eat more protein and fiber and fruits and veggies. And they need to like have some kind of structure around their workout program and move their bodies with intention. 95% of humans in at least the Western world are going to experience drastic improvements to their health and wellness by way of just doing those things more consistently.
Without a doubt. As you were saying it earlier, in terms of like, people are taught in these certifications that they have to be so general and they have to like be able to cover all these things, as well as I get the sense that from a lot of new coaches too, like they're afraid of leaving people out. Like if they don't know these things, like they won't be able to help them or stuff. And I was just like, is this the situation that we're in as a result of both those things? Or is someone at fault here? And I have a feeling, I think both parties are at fault, because on one side we're told like, you got to be client centered. You got to meet the person where they're at. You got to be able to handle all these situations. And then the flip side is most people are like, well, what if I work with more people and different type of people, there's going to be more of them. And, I'm going to be grow my business that way. And it's like, it doesn't work.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's so funny to reflect on, because I think so much about like, what would I tell earlier, Ryan? Again, this is where it gets tricky because it's so biased to your own thing. But the truth is,
let's hear. I mean, I think a lot of people would see themselves in your story. So let's hear what you would tell earlier, Ryan.
It's very simple, man. It's just like, if you persist, you'll find something. And maybe it is the case that I think there's so much at play as far as us recognizing the very human tendency to like draw correlations and tell ourselves stories that explains things, which in a lot of instances, it's just like, the jacked meathead at the gym who starts, somebody goes, man, you got big triceps. And it's like, oh, here, I'll show you this thing that I've been doing for 30 years. It's like, maybe he's just got insane genetics for his triceps. Mm-hmm. So it's like the correlation of him having massive triceps, he correlates it to this one cool exercise that he saw from another jack dude with big triceps. And so that's the key in his brain. And then when he tells people that, people do this all the time, right? But in reality, it's like, you could have another person who has atrocious arm genetics, and he could do that exercise until the cows come home, and he's not going to have big triceps like that. So again, it's just like, it might be the case that for some people, they're just not going to make great coaches. I think that's a reality that one can say, which is, it's just like, some clients aren't going to have a six-pack.
Yep.
They're not going to have a six-pack. And so in certain even though in a lot of my, like, I still market kind of towards that, because I do like to err on the optimistic side and say, we can get you close. Like, let's just, how long is it going to take? I don't know. It depends on
I
you.
think you got to show people what's possible. I think if you don't do that, then they'll never
Yes.
know what could happen is the biggest thing, right? Like, I don't think you're being misleading. I don't think you're like, trying to, like, I know so many people find themselves in the situation where it's like, not everyone's going to get that. So I can't say that. And I was like, that is, we watch pro sports. Like, you think by watching pro sports that everyone's going to think they're going to become, the next, like Connor McDavid. Is like, no, not at all. Like, come on, right? Like,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, like I think especially adults need to have a reality check around that. But that doesn't mean we don't talk about them and showcase what made them great and what could
Totally.
happen if you do things like this. So it's just, I don't know.
Well, and that it's like, the truth is we'll never know until we try. And so why not try? People, I think more people use that sort of questioning of, is this possible? How long is it going to take if it is? How much effort? Ooh, balloons.
Yeah,
How
there
much
you go.
effort is it going to require for me to put forth? More people use the answers to those questions, or speculated answers, to then have that impact their level of effort. Then it's just like, well, we'll never know. But I truly believe that within the context of all facets of human existence, it is likely the case that you're in the position that you're in. You probably have a certain genetic predisposition, plus whatever environmental factors and learned behavior that you've acquired from your history that puts you in this position, and we can move you along that spectrum. So the example I like to think is, like, if someone's 5'4" or something, am I going to be able to teach him how to dunk a basketball? Probably not. Can I teach him how to jump higher? Guaranteed. So we can move him along that spectrum. But like, the 5'4" person is very likely to think, I'm never going to dunk. So why even bother improving my vert? Well, it's like, if you like to play basketball, you want to get better at basketball, why would you not learn to jump a little bit higher so you can lay up with more ease and be a better basketball player, be more explosive, etc. Right? So it's like, we can nudge someone along that spectrum. There are cases to this specific example of, like, someone who maybe won't have the genetics from a muscle belly development standpoint. They may have been way too over fat at one point to, like, legitimately expose a six-pack at some point. But we don't know. There's examples anecdotally of people who've done that, who've been like 100 pounds overweight and they have six-packs now. So why not just, let's put in our maximum effort and see what we can do. And to go back to the original question of, like, what I would tell young Rye when I was getting into coaching is just, if, I had the passion and the introspective nature and the thirst for new knowledge to continually revise how I go about providing my service, I would tell them, this is going to be way harder than you think it is going to be. You're not just going to be doing check-ins from the beach in a year from now making 200 grand a year. But, like, if you persist, if you just stay consistent and you continually reflect and refine who you help, how you help them, and improve on your skills in terms of how you can coach and lead, you'll get to a point where you're doing a lot better than you would be if you were to just sort of, like, accept or surrender to the difficulty of it and take an easier path.
I love that. That's powerful stuff, man. Which, as you were saying it, I wanted to segue into where you currently are, because there's elements of that, what you're doing now, I think a lot of people are aspiring to do, which is, like, important to point out. You live in Mexico.
Yeah.
As a Canadian in
Yeah.
a warm place all year round with an
Yeah.
online coaching business. I can imagine it isn't check-ins on the beach, but it's a great quality of life and something that you have been able to set up for yourself while doing some school stuff and while doing it, like chasing down your dreams. So how cool is that?
It's been amazing, man. I pinch myself for sure. It's again, and to call a spade, there's so much that I still have massive opportunities to do to improve on my service and business side of things and whatnot. But I think for me, just to speak to my own experience, it's like I spent years obsessing about coaching, and I coached for a number of other companies. So that helped me just put in the reps. They were handling the marketing and sales side and just feeding me clients. And so that just was like, okay, put in a ton of reps, work with a ton of different people, get really good at coaching. For me, in the beginning, when I got certified initially, trying to do both, like wear the business hat, wear the coaching hat, that was really difficult for me. I've seen guys do it and be very successful early on. For me, it wasn't feasible. It was just too overwhelming, and I was very limited in my capacity to like do both of those things. And so again, that old messaging to young Rye, it's like, just put in the reps. If you can get in and work for someone who's handling the business side and the marketing and sales side, it's like, make that decision. What do you want? Do you want to be an amazing coach, or do you want to be a businessman? Because if you want to be the businessman, you could hire the best coaches and be more on the systems back end side, learn how to scale, learn how to market, learn how to sell, and create systems that allow you to leverage the competency of the masterful coaches that you hire, such that you create amazing transformations and an incredible service, and you're more on the business side. If you want to be a coach, then try and just figure out how to put in the most amount of reps that you can put in on that side of things. Now I'm kind of at that point where I'll always love reading and learning and expanding my awareness in terms of becoming a better coach and guiding people to a better degree. But I can sort of like afford, so to speak, to reallocate a lot of that time that I was putting towards the coaching side of things to being like, okay, I've got this more specific niche. How can I make this service the best? And how can I then think of that being more scalable? And that's where I'm at now. So I'm kind of relaunching a new program. I found, even just from a standpoint of like, how many clients can I work with?
Yeah.
While feeling like I can give them all that I want to give. When I was working for some of these other companies, I would have upwards of 90 clients at one time. The way that I coach, it didn't really work. I was constantly feeling like I wanted to give more. I love doing one-on-one calls or group coaching calls. So even just those more back-end systems-based, structure-based aspects of one's business are really important to determine, because there are coaches who provide an incredible service, and they've created systems that support that incredible service such that they can have 120 clients. That wasn't me. I can't do that. I'm just exhausted. I'm behind the screen the whole time. I'm more of like a client sends me a message and I really dig into it. And I'm like,
you leaned in when you said that. It was,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, without a doubt. No, I think there's a bunch of different ways to coach. And I think as long as you have some like principles in place, like it's got to make sense too, in terms of like delivery, fulfillment, price point. I know so many people that like say, it sounds like the way you're fulfilling your coaching now is a bit more hands-on, and there's some in-person components. Like the price tag needs to come along with that as well, right? Like it can't be, because you'll never make a professional wage if you just do that at basement rates that are a bit less hands-on, right? So it's got to the math's got to math.
The math has to math. And it's like, I wish there was a fast track to it. I thought there was initially, but the truth is, back in the day, even my first business coaching program that I signed up for, that taught me how to sell high ticket coaching.
Uh-huh.
It was out of alignment with what I felt I was actually worth, because I didn't have all the reps, so to speak, from coaching. I wasn't super confident that I could help this person get where they wanted to go. And I didn't feel right charging the amount that I was being told to charge. It just was misaligned. Now I feel very grateful for just having, again, it's just persistence. It's like time and persistence. Just go through nothing good comes easy. So like if you just stay the course, now you get to a point where you're like, I've worked for other companies where they were charging more than what I'm charging now. And I know that my service is better than what I was able to provide to those clients, because I had 90 clients when I was working for that company. And so now I can be like, well, I'm going to work with less people. I'm going to charge a lot, but it's something that is feasible from an investment standpoint for this demographic who I am targeting.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really confident that I can help this person. And so that's an exciting position to be in, and one that, again, to be fully transparent, I'm just kind of like, it hasn't been that long since I left the last company that I worked for.
Yep.
But I'm just working on some more of the back end sales funnel systems, and I'm feeling I'm in a very invigorated state as far as like who I can help.
Cool. I mean, what a good place to be in. I think the biggest thing that I need to always wrap my head around and experience too is that it doesn't always feel like that, right?
No.
Yeah, and it's like you just gotta, like, you're right, you just gotta weather that, and be kind to yourself in the meantime, so that you can get to that other place. And usually you don't really have that clarity or that feeling of like invigoration unless you kind of went through it, unless you discovered some things that you didn't like, and found what you do like, right? I think we always view that as kind of the negative things as like a bad thing, when in reality it's like that might be the thing that sets us up for the next step if we can just get through it.
That's just it, man. I mean, it's like just before this call, actually, I was doing some writing on a content piece, and I could see my brain doing the thing that you were helping me with. And again, we can hear these things, but I don't think anything is more powerful than our own experience and finally coming through the other side and going, damn it, that thing that my old coach was telling me, he was right. And I just couldn't like ingrain it. But I'm writing out this piece of content, and my brain wants to make all these nuances, which ends up just muddying the water of my message. And now my brain's kind of like, well, I'm going to walk this, like this content piece is like, here's what you do. You know, you see a picture of yourself and you're disgusted. And like, so it's like that, whatever you want to call it, aversion-based motivation. Because people can make the come to the conclusion or the deciding like precipice of, I'm going to finally get my health on track and hire someone for a number of different reasons. They can get a scary news from a doctor. They can see a picture of themselves that they're disgusted with, or have that moment when they step out of the shower. They're like, what has happened to me? I used to be an athlete in college or whatever. They might get a comment from their kid or someone who just goes, hey, like pinches their belly or something. Or they could, that's more the aversion, like I want to move away from these punishing stimuli. Or they could also be inspired, right? They could see a video of somebody who lost a bunch of weight and they're now running triathlons or whatever. More of the sort of like, I want to move towards that. And neither are good nor bad. But like when I'm writing a piece of content, I used to think like, maybe this would happen, maybe this, maybe I'd go through all those nuances. And then you lose the person that you're trying to target. Now my brain can better, not perfectly, but can better think, well, let's test one of these. Mm-hmm. Like you got a comment. It's kind of like back to the silliness that sometimes can feel a bit counterintuitive with the niche of like, you're a dentist. You spend hours a day sitting.
Yeah.
Balloons again. But like that kind of thought process. Well, from a marketing and messaging standpoint, do both. Like write another piece of content that's about hey, you saw a video of someone who did this and you're inspired and you want to have that get your glory days back and like run a marathon or bench a certain amount or whatever it is, right? But you can get really nuanced and specific, not in that one post and be like, here's all the possible things that may have got you to this point that you're deciding to hire a coach. No, it's like you're going to lose everybody that you want to talk to if you're trying to target everybody, and instead honing in and saying, no, here's what happened. And then you start grinding, and then you restrict yourself for the week, and then you end up binging because your environment's fighting against you, your biology's fighting against you. And that can be the more powerful messaging that gets them like, holy shit, this guy's he's been watching.
Exactly.
Or something.
He's in my head. In my head completely.
He's in my head. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I completely, as a coach and business owner, I just know that I have been in a position where like I've gotten really good advice that just wasn't the right advice at the time. Like it was the right answer and the right thing to do and the right way of thinking of things. But a lot of times, the quote of like, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. It's just like, it doesn't, like you aren't ready. Your mindset's not ready. It's just not, it doesn't come at the right time. And that's some of the toughest aspects of coaching, right? Is like kind of like, I don't know, future pacing that in terms of like, that will need to happen. You will need to do this. That is the right thing. But like, maybe this is the way to view it now. Like that's some of the toughest stuff. A great example of that is I just crossed that 10,000 subscriber mark on YouTube, which is super pumped. But I spent like probably like 4 years avoiding doing long form content because I wasn't ready. It wasn't right for me, although it's like now transform my business and like a huge part of what we do. But at the moment, and I had a coach, I was spending like, thousands of dollars every month telling me like, Mark, this is the thing. You got to do it. And then just being like, well, no, like, I'm not going to do that. Like, it's not right. It's not the right thing right now. I want to do short form content. It's just being like, and I could just now looking back, being like seeing the look in his eyes, being like, no, I should have done that way earlier.
I mean, should you have though? That's the thing, right?
No, yeah, of course not. Maybe I wouldn't be the place I'm in now if I didn't learn those lessons and then discover it on my own and come to terms with it on my own and that type of thing. But yeah, no, like I get it. It's just it's tough.
It's so much of it is timing. It's like. Man, it's like what sparked this live stream. I reached out to you. I was just like, I miss you, bro. Like our chats, there's so much that you used to tell me that well after us no longer working together, I was like, oh shit, do you want to be right or do you want to be helpful? That was one that was just ingrained into my brain. And man, to such a pivotal degree in my own coaching service, just being able to zoom out and be like, I don't have to be right. And it almost created this sense of ongoing ease and lack of anxiety around, I gotta be helping this client get results right now, instead of just being like, well, the timing might be off. Like, what do you know what I mean? Like the client who's spinning his wheels, which again, no matter how niche you get, I don't think will ever hit a point where all of your clients are just murdering it and getting everything that they've ever dreamed of as far as outcomes. That's just unrealistic. And so the more that the coach is like generating their own anxiety around, I got to provide enough value. Why is this client struggling? Blah, 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 blah. That bleeds into how you are able to show up and be present for your other clients. You lose sleep over it as a coach who cares. You're like, man, what is this? What am I missing here that I can do differently to help this client get where they want to get? So yeah, those little subtle messages that you hear and logically they make sense, but you're just not ready for it. It's just like, who knows when it'll happen, but it'll click at some point, and it might just be the case that you got to suffer until it happens.
What an important lesson. So good. I am also starting to remember, it's jogging my brain why we worked together for so long, because these conversations just happen so naturally. Look at that.
Yes,
Look at that, right?
Yes.
I mean,
already 45 minutes. Jeez,
just
crazy.
a couple bros chatting about how to make their lives better. It's so good. Hey, one thing I was going to ask you, 1 second.
Yes.
Did you ever get a copy of this?
No. Who wrote that? Is that yours?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
What? I didn't know.
Yeah, I think it was released last July. We've sold, I think, like maybe like just 800 copies, 1,000 copies, somewhere in there.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, man.
Congrats.
It's cool. Thank you. But I'd love to send you a copy. So when we go off here, I'll have to get your address and get it over to you.
It would be a privilege, man.
And I know the second thing I want to rope into this is I know you love helping other people and asking people questions. So I'd like to also raffle another copy of this off. So if anyone's watching the replay of this and wants to drop a question down below for Coach Rye based on his full circle experience and crushing it as a coach, we'll answer some of those questions at a later date, and then I'll raffle off another copy and get another copy of someone. Does that sound cool?
Love it, man.
Yeah, man. It's been, I don't know, it's been cool to watch, but yeah, that'd be another thing to just keep giving back to this great industry.
Amazing. I had no idea, dude. I'm excited to read it.
There we go. It sounds like I got to talk about some of this stuff more often.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. Okay, man. Well, I appreciate the time, and we'll leave her there for today. I mean, I love what you're doing. Such a great resource for people, and thanks for sharing your story and kind of the journey and the experience. And one lesson I pulled out of it is just like, just got to weather the storm and stick with it.
Persistence, man.
I love it.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Okay, cool, man. Well, thanks for tuning in. Okay.
Cheers.
Okay, bye, guys. Now, as great as all those tips are, maybe you're still wondering how to start or grow your nutrition coaching. Here's what I want you to do. Go to the first link down in the description below, and you'll get all the details on our Nutrition Coaching Academy certification. It's a 90-day program that'll give you everything you need to start nutrition coaching or to take your nutrition coaching business to the next level. Check out all the details down in the link below, and thanks for watching.